Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Getting Unstuck with Misfits Unplugged, where we're helping highly motivated hustlers achieve success and overcome career hurdles. We're two minority
Mhm.
women with a combination of street smarts and corporate America, bringing simplified business concepts to everyone.
And if you're feeling stuck in your career and having a little bit of trouble trying to figure out what your next step should be, you want to listen to Misfits Unplugged because we're going to be giving you little nuggets to help you get unstuck on the way.
I'm Isabel, and that's Brandy. Say hi, Brandy.
Hi, Isabel.
Guess that works. She doesn't follow direction, but it works. Hello, and welcome to episode 11, where Brandy and I are walking you through creating opportunities in your current role and creating opportunities for those around you in your community. So, as always, BK, let's hit the ground running and share some of the opportunities that we've created in our previous roles and our current role, and how we've created and paid it forward uh,
Mhm.
to create opportunities for the people around us.
Awesome. In terms of creating roles for yourself, I'll just speak from my experience, and I think I sort of instinctually, even before, in this industry, let's just take this industry in particular, right? I didn't know anything about finance, anything about insurance, hadn't had a second of a degree. um, just really, really green. And I just remember being in the role in that particular situation. I was the executive assistant to the executive assistant of the CEO, which means, in layman's terms, that's like bottom of the totem pole. But I think that I've always been really, really observant, and I listen a lot. So my natural instinct is to solve problems that other people aren't necessarily picking up on, or looking at opportunities to do something that maybe sometimes the room isn't picking up on. So I think for me it's I learned later on, after I got all of, my credentials, that I was doing what we call filling leadership gaps. And it's literally, watching, observing, seeing what's being asked, seeing where certain things or systems are falling short, and creating opportunities to fix them. And I think if you're a natural problem solver, then you probably do that anyway, because you kind of go into every situation with a critical eye. Like, so I think for me, I've always been the kind of person that kind of tears things down to build them back up, kind of thing. And in my early, career, when I was, kind of raising the ranks, I want to say like the first opportunity that I can remember where I really created an opportunity for myself was when I was working for this same lady. She was an older lady, very knowledgeable about the business, but she was not tech savvy. She did not want anything to do with Excel. She didn't want anything to do with any sort of technology. She was still managing cases on a legal pad. Um, and for me, I was kind of like, why are you doing this? Like, so, I went about the business of taking all of those cases and putting them into a system, learn the system, learn how to jerry rig the what we call a CRM, or a client management system, and learn how to plug information in a very efficient way that allowed me to start producing reports. And I did that for about 30 days or so, and started distributing those reports, and all of the management and agents was like, we have never had anything like this before. I didn't realize that I was creating a situation where they could see their business. And so when that was explained to me, I kind of knew, like, okay, like, this is a stepping block. And to be honest, I think it was maybe 6 months later that I got promoted to a director, like, literally. So, I think being really observant, looking for opportunities to solve problems will always put you in a position to sort of fill leadership gaps, and being really proactive about it. Like, sometimes people don't know what they want, and you you got to take the bull by the horns. And, I would say that that's a really good example of being really green, not knowing much, but still finding a way to create an opportunity for myself and for the firm that I was working for.
Yeah. So we've said this, I've said this in previous episodes, that the thing I hate the most or my biggest pet peeve is this is the way we've always done it.
Mhm,
And even 15, 20 years into my career, I'm still re-looking at things that I've done and taking a step back. And that skill sets you create for yourself over time. A lot of folks earlier on in their career are really in the trenches and in the weeds, and they're problem solving, putting band-aids on things. And when you are at our level now, you're not only just putting band-aids, but you're also taking a step back and thinking strategically of the impact, big picture, and you
mhm,
need to be changed or improved upon and so on. So I still do that to the things that I've created so that I
mhm.
don't become a dinosaur. And
Yeah,
we've heard this throughout our careers about folks being dinosaurs. And it's basically that you keep this mentality, a not growth or limited growth mentality, and
mhm,
new information or new attempts to do things, you reject. So funny enough, we call those dinosaurs. And in both of our scenarios, when we came into firms that we worked with, there was a dinosaur there.
mhm,
And, you know, what happened in both of our scenarios that we ended up being promoted because we brought new, fresh ideas without stepping on people's toes. We attempted both to be collaborators,
mhm.
but the dinosaurs typically also reject that partnership because they feel threatened. So,
Yeah,
one, don't become a dinosaur. Two, keep your mindset, an evolution mindset, a growth mindset, because that can only help you. Uh,
mhm,
so what I hear you, Brandy, and I agree with is that we started with these dinosaurs. And when I joined the firm I was working with, it was, and I've worked at a few jobs that had people with these same type of mindsets. It was, this is the way that we've always done it, and it works.
mhm,
But it wasn't as time efficient. It's pulling on resources, revenue, because if we're doing things that are significantly paper, like at one of my employers, we were printing off emails and filing them away.
mhm,
And I sit here and I'm like, why am I printing off this email? So, the revenue that we lost in paper, ink, files, filing cabinets, storage, people coming
mhm,
in to take these big boxes of documents and storing them
mhm.
when we're in an environment of this digital world. So I would just make sure that what I hear you saying is you implemented technology and you evolved, and you were
Mhm,
attempting to evolve the company and alongside people that were already in the roles. So in those situations, the opportunities that we created were evaluating how the business was done, asking questions, and then saying or looking at where can we save time? Where can
yeah,
things become more efficient?
mm,
How can we, if we take off, 2 hours of work, what could we do with those 2 hours? How
mhm,
can we expand our support or our,
mhm,
depending on your firm and what you do, because we're talking to a bunch of different industries. If you or yourself are working in something and you're saving yourself 2 hours, now look at the big picture. Is there something that's missing? Is there an
mhm.
opportunity that's missing that you can add value?
Yeah,
Maybe not immediately, and you don't know what it is. Like I can think about you, Brandy, when you
mhm,
started building out dashboards at the firm that we worked out together. You weren't a tech background, but you knew the problem. You had
mhm,
some ideas about solutions, and you partnered with someone who was in that space, who then
mhm,
were able to get those skill sets and merge it and then add,
mhm.
like dashboard building and report building and all that stuff to your the arrows in your quiver. And I hate saying this because I have someone that works with me that says it probably at 30 times in a presentation. Sorry,
Yeah.
Dustin. I'll edit that out. Um,
Yeah.
but it is an arrow in your quiver that you were able to align with a subject matter expert and then take on some of that information, and you created an opportunity for yourself because
Mhm.
you merged your management operational mindset with this piece of the business. And then you also created a strategic business partner,
Yeah.
which was awesome. And I'm kind of in
Mhm.
that space now, learning so much more about tech and what can we use it for, and how to automate and take things away from, like, we don't want computers to replace our employees. How
Mhm.
do we partner to make everything move faster, more efficient, more automated, and
Yeah.
we are in a digital environment. So that's number one opportunity that I can think of across
Mhm.
the board that you and I both experienced that really changed the industry that we worked in. So that's number one. Uh,
Mhm.
so I would just keep saying, keep your mindset open, growth mindset, boss
Yes.
shift. If you feel like you may potentially be a dinosaur, take a step back and say, what are the areas that I think that I have said this is the way it's done and it works because it
Mhm.
probably can use a tweak, a refresh,
Mhm.
and your employer is only going to thank you and commend you, your manager, for taking that approach because it shows
Mhm.
that you have flexibility, creativity, innovation, and who doesn't love that at this point in any career.
Seriously. Mhm.
So now let's like jump into like how we open up doors for other people behind us because I think we both are in that space of seeking opportunities, but also being opportunity creators.
Yeah.
Anything that you can think of that you wanted to share with anyone about continuing to pay it forward?
Yeah, I think if you have the mentality, and you touched on it a little bit a couple of minutes ago, just, in terms of having a growth mentality. And I think if you stay in that space, you're always looking for the next opportunity. And if you're always looking for the next opportunity, then you're not fixated on the thing that you just built. And we talk about being really territorial about things that we build, particularly in businesses, right? Um, and I think for me, I'm a build it and leave it kind of person, right? Like once I've solved the problem, created a solution and an infrastructure around it so that it doesn't repeat itself, and it's a working mechanism. I delegate it, or, I put it into place and I move on to the next thing. And that in and of itself creates opportunities for other people. I think in growth, you have to not only get out of your own way, but you have to get out of other people's way too. And I think that some people get stuck really by wanting to hold on to things that they do really well. Um, I do that as well, but I think, by the mere idea of getting good at something and wanting to get better and better and better automatically makes me less territorial about things that I build. So I think in general, over my career, I've always been the kind of person that is always looking at, okay, how can I make the company grow? Or what impact can I have from where I am, and what does that growth look like? And if I'm able to do that, what can I take off of my plate, or what responsibilities can I give somebody else that will allow them the same growth opportunity, right? So I'm always thinking about that. In my early years, we used interns a lot. I'll always tell people, don't be afraid to intern, even if you are, been been in an industry for a long time. Let's say you're moving to another industry, you know nothing about the industry. There's nothing to me more impactful than sitting with, people who know what they're doing and shadowing people. I still use that technique even when I hire people on. And so, in the early years, it was about getting interns and, being able to spot talent, so to speak, right? So I'm always interested and passionate for people who are really passionate, or who want to learn, who want to soak up things. And so that gives me a lot of passion to want to teach them, because I think at the very core I am a teacher. Even my way of training is not to just teach you what I want you to do, but it's teaching you, what the outcome is, like what the outcome should be, giving you the A to Z of that particular process and how I do it, and then giving you the freedom to go and kind of, do it yourself. And I think that when you give people freedom like that, they start to create opportunities for themselves. And it's just really making sure that I'm always in a position where I'm growing, and I'm always keeping the people around me in mind as I'm growing, and always looking, when I get there, are there any opportunities that's there that, I can pay forward either to colleagues or, to employees. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, I like so what you were saying, being territorial, I'm guilty of it. So
Mhm.
if I were to do if I were have to, okay, if I were have to, oh my God, I can't say this. If previous years I would have done my ABCDs maybe 7 or 8 years ago, One of my blind spots would have been, the territorialness of things. And
Mm.
it was a bit of limited thinking on my part, but it was all you knew. So,
Mhm.
in my previous life, we managed new business and that was my space, my area of expertise. So I owned it. It was my baby, right?
Mhm.
And then that was the environment that was fostered in my old firm, though. So it was like, you own marketing, you own this area, you own this area. So I was an expertise in this department. I made all the decisions and the ins and outs of it. That was, people would come to me for that space. Now, fast forward into the firm that I'm in, that doesn't work. That mentality of I own this. It's also limited it's a limited thought about how to manage it. Like for some reason I can't speak today. But it was a wake-up call to come into this firm and realize it was more about a collaboration of
Yeah.
different areas and more about sharing if I've created, and today's an example of that, I'm creating an infrastructure specific to 2 departments that I oversee. So I'm documenting all the roles and responsibilities for each member of the team, and then identifying opportunities, creating career planning or career mapping, and
Mhm.
someone said, "Hey, Isabel, can I meet with you? I want to pick your brain." Old Isabel would have said, like, I made all this work, I put all this effort into it, it's mine, like, it's mine.
Mhm.
And I would have shared bits and pieces of it or so on, but I wouldn't have shared the whole kit and caboodle, right?
Mhm.
I'm like, "Hey, yeah, absolutely. Whatever I could do to help, like, let's have a conversation." I showed her everything that I put together, offered myself to work with her because my mindset has changed from this territorial, I own it, to more of a benefit for us to learn from each other. Because
Mhm.
even though I am paying it forward to her and sharing this opportunity of like everything I've already documented and spent the last like year working on,
Yeah.
and all of my secret sauce, I do it. Um, then I know that this individual I can also learn so much from. So she'll take it, make it her own. And then I can
Mhm.
go back and say, "Oh, that's a great idea. I can do it this way." Or "Why did you do that?" And understand another person's mentality and approach to things. So
Yeah.
a big shift, and I can absolutely own it. But then, you only know what you know. So my mentality
Yeah.
at that point was ownership of something, and that was my success. Now
Mhm.
I understand that there's a combination of collaboration and ownership.
Mhm.
I'm still an expert in my area, but I'm
Yeah.
even growing more because of the collaboration. So if I create,
Mhm.
let's say, a process doc, a standard operating procedure, a project, an initiative, I never just do it and I'm done. I always
Mhm.
collaborate. Hey, can you review this? What are your thoughts on this? Is this clear? Then you
Mhm.
learn that, I didn't have it right. Number one, draft. There'll be
You were
several
missing
drafts
something.
or
Mhm.
something that's like really pertinent. Maybe when you reread something multiple times and then you miss the word, but you kept reading the word because
Mhm.
you hit send on
Often.
that email and then you're like, I misspelled this word or I missed a whole piece that I wanted to add in there.
Yeah.
It's that same mentality and it's helped me significantly grow.
Mhm.
That's the same thing I push forward to the people that either reported to me or were collaborative with me as peers, is to keep that mentality. So that's something
Yeah.
it's not necessarily I've created an opportunity, but I'm also encouraging people to create the opportunities as well.
Mhm.
It's something, here are some people to collaborate with that can help you continue to learn in this space.
Yeah.
It's also bringing people together so that they can build relationships. And, I'm also known for like creating opportunities in that way, connecting people.
Sure.
And you'll see
Mhm.
that this person has moved into this area because they ended up liking that area more. So
Yeah.
it's giving them some purpose in their career and some clarity there.
Mhm.
Um, so that was something I wanted to touch on, was the creating roles.
Mhm.
Specifically because, you and I share this as well. If we see like there's an opportunity or role, we're thinking about, oh, do we know someone that might benefit from this?
Mhm.
So that's about the relationship building, because I can think about someone that I worked with 3 years ago that I'm like, oh man, they would be really great for this opportunity. And
Yeah.
connect them, like, to see if it's something they're interested in. And I hope that they do that for me if they see something. But,
Mhm.
that opportunity creation is just something that I gain nothing from.
Yeah.
I enjoy seeing someone else flourish, someone else,
Yeah.
succeed in that space.
Mhm. Mhm. I'll add, you know, part of creating opportunities for yourself and for other people is not looking at everything, every situation, every role, in this like tunnel, right? I always encourage people to look at the bigger picture, to uh, imagine, not just what you're asked to do, but all of the moving parts around you and expand your vision. And I challenge even myself, right? Expand your vision, expand your vision, expand your vision. Because if you're able to do that, then you're not just looking at a situation or a problem or a role in this like tunnel where you don't see any opportunities on the sides of you or for yourself or for other people. I think that it's really important to create a role for yourself. I mean, to me, it requires a lot of creativity and a lot of vision for you to be able to either act in a way or sell yourself in a way that other people, other leaders want to pull you in. And even you were just talking about, how even you being territorial in your space, a lot of times if you're getting that feedback, it's because the leader or the person that's giving you that feedback sees bigger for you. They want you to get out of, your specific, role or whatever and expand it. So I think that both of us have done a really good job of, being hired for something, seeing opportunities that have allowed us to sort of get proactive, fill leadership gaps, and then, expand that role. Um, and then, once you do that, I mean, sometimes it's a matter of, and, to expand your role, I know, the big picture would be to get the better position or more money. But sometimes expanding your position, that won't come right away. But you have to be strategic about what you're taking on and how you're expanding your role. So if you do start to transition, to somewhere else that, you take that opportunity to use that experience to, sell yourself in another way. So vision, creativity. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, so no matter where you are in your career and what level, so if you're listening to us in your beginning phases of your career versus being a few years in or in our level or above, it's always about keeping this open mindset and looking at the role and fully understanding the role that you're doing and asking questions and being honest. Like, we encourage you to continue to go onto our website, do the ABCDs for Getting Unstuck.
Mhm.
It's our brainstorming foundational course. uh,
Mhm.
and it's just basically walking through your assets, your blind spots, your choices, and your destroyers if you're new here. And it's really about learning more about yourself. And we
Mhm.
encourage that to be the very first step of everything that you do when you work with Misfits Unplugged. And in this space, no surprise, it's another area that you can use that, and apply it to what you're specifically doing in your role. Like, you were hired to be, let's say, an operations entry level position, understanding the role, asking questions, where do you feel like you're struggling and so on. And then that's your starting point and that's your point, your roadmap, because now at least you know what you're going to be focused on in the next year.
Mhm.
And then you can ask questions to your manager or the people around you to make sure that you're in a good place. And
Mhm.
you can use that same philosophy in everything that you're doing. And then once you have, become successful at what you're doing, then you start thinking about being an opportunity creator. And, how was your training when you came on board? Is there anything that's missed that you think that you should be doing and that, or something that someone else is doing that you want to learn more about? That's when you start having that opportunity creator mindset. And
Mhm.
then that's when you also are creating more opportunities for you to advance, not
Yeah.
just take on more work, but also to, hopefully add some more, dollars in
Mhm.
your paycheck.
Yeah.
But I always encourage to, not only walk through the door, but hold the door open for the people that are coming behind you. So,
Mhm.
as you're creating opportunities, if you say, hey, I want to do X, Y, Z, but I think that there's some more room in this role, or I think that there's
Mhm.
another add-on that we can add to the team, and here's the value that that person can provide. That's
Sure.
an opportunity creator. But you have to find your voice and your confidence to do that. I say, the worst thing that can happen is no. Um,
Yeah.
just keep asking questions, keep seeking opportunities. within reason. If I hire,
Mhm.
don't ask me for a promotion on a Friday,
Yeah.
but create, like you and I, Brandy, we always talk about the goals. That's the next thing that we're working on. We're working on the smash
Mhm.
goals, which I'm excited is coming together. It's looking real good.
Mhm.
And that's really the next step. The next step is your goal setting so that you are holding yourself accountable to
Mhm.
moving the needle in your own career. Because
Yeah.
you're not the person that is trying to take it to the next level. No one out there is going to just be throwing opportunities at you if you're not finding them and keeping those things. I have some people that I've worked with who, they're like years and years and years in their role, and they're like, no one has promoted me. Well, huh?
Yeah.
Where are you creating opportunity? Have you voiced this and said, I want XYZ very, very clearly and worked towards building the skill sets and the opportunity? So
Mhm.
there's too many people like that that just expect these things to just be thrown in their lap
It's
versus
true.
working towards it.
Mhm.
And then if you try something, it doesn't work, change your approach to it, because creating opportunities, and having the opportunity mindset, you're not going to get every opportunity. Not every opportunity you lay out, you're going to get,
Yeah.
but keeping the mindset to keep changing. And then, as we've talked about, it could be at that firm, it could be at another firm, but don't
Mhm.
lose the momentum. But it has to be a balance between, momentum and like reality here, of what
Mhm.
you're capable of doing. Like, I'm not becoming the president, right? Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not, but
Maybe.
you said yeah real quick. I could become the president, okay? It'll
She
be
could
a
totally be the
fun it,
president,
it would be a
people.
fun country. You'll actually be much better at presidency since you follow politics. It's all about like reality TV and video games. I don't think this country is gonna be, doing real well after my term.
That's so funny.
And
I
then
would say the only thing that I'd add to that, and I would, because all of that boils down to a lot of what we've talked about in our last, podcast, what we continue to go over and over and over, and it is um really staying engaged and being a student of your industry, because even when we start doing the smash goals, a lot of that beginning work is going to be all around, you learning your industry. Do you know your industry? Do you know your boss? Do you know the responsibilities that your boss has? All of those things, once you have that information, you can start to really, really think about where you can start creating opportunity for yourself. It's always looking, to fill leadership gaps. I'll keep throwing that out there because it is, um, there's an art to being able to observe and, see opportunities that other people aren't seeing, and being proactive about it. Like, don't wait, for situations to come up or things to blow up in order to create opportunities either. I mean, I always encourage my staff, if you see it, come to me, let's talk about it. Don't wait for, a weekly meeting. Don't wait for X, Y, and Z. Always come to me so we can, figure out a way. And it usually is a teachable moment for either me or for the employee, which, creates another synergy. So, always just being observant, anticipating needs, understanding your industry, understanding what people want from you in your role, and always looking for opportunities to fill leadership gaps. Those things to me, it is a secret sauce to creating opportunity for yourself and others.
yeah, I agree with everything that you just said. I appreciate people who have that growth mentality, and like I say growth mentality, but student of the industry, or continuing to be this sponge.
Mhm.
There's only positivity that comes from the people who are completely invested in what they're trying to do. So, whether it's listening to Misfits Unplugged podcast, reading articles, doing e-courses, which we also are working on. So stay tuned.
That's coming. Mhm.
There's so much opportunities to continue to learn, to move the needle in your career, to, increase your value, life work-life balance. And there's so much that could come, but it all starts with you.
Mhm.
So continue to keep this open mindset, and sky is the limit. Brandy, before we say goodbye to all of our beautiful misfits, is there any words of wisdom that you wanted to drop?
Be a student of life, people. Be a student of life. Observe, observe, observe. Be a student of your environment, of your industry. And I promise you, you will not fail.
Sky is the limit. So thank you so much for listening to episode 11, where we talk about opportunities. So we hope you took just a piece to keep you motivated and energetic to the next steps in your career. If you're brand new here, go on to misfitsunplugged.com and sign up for a newsletter. We're sending out helpful tips and tricks and exclusive information on a monthly basis. Misfits Unplugged on Instagram and most of the social media platforms. And we're dropping knowledge bombs on a daily basis on IG. We are a very interactive community. So make sure that you are sending us your questions, where you're stuck, how we can help you, any topics you want us to talk through, or if you want to be a guest on our podcast. We want to see more of your lovely faces, and we would love to help you one-on-one or learn how you've been successful, and if you want to share with the community. So thank you so much. Take care. We
Bye,
love
Misfits.
you.